it does appear that we do have a quorum now, and we can begin the process of going through our agenda. Let me thank everyone for being in attendance here today. I hope you folks will bear with yours truly as I embark on this initial inaugural journey as chairman, but with the capable assistance of our great staff and our competent and dedicated board members, we'll probably get through this without too much bloodshed. With that, we'll get into the approval of the minutes of a meeting of November the 6th. If we have any questions, we will try to address those. Otherwise, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and second to accept the minutes as they were presented. Is there any unreadiness to that motion? Lawrence?
Mr. Groover,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Mayo,
Aye.
Dr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye. Thank you for that. We'll get right into our public comments. Do we have anyone here from the public that wishes to share thoughts with us? Please come forward.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. This morning we have currently 5 in-person speakers. We will call them up individually. The first is Miss Melissa Bonfiglio from Legal Aid Society.
We'd like to let all of our speakers know in advance that we limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We would appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for having us here today. My name is Melissa Bonfiglio, and I'm the Deputy Director and Director of Litigation at the Legal Aid Society of Eastern Virginia. Legal Aid provides free legal assistance to low-income Virginians in civil matters such as housing, family law matters, consumer matters, and the denial of public benefits. Legal Aid has been very concerned about the lack of adequate heat at Calvert Square. In speaking with numerous clients, we've learned that this is not a recent development, but this has been ongoing since October. Many tenants have told us that while the heat normally comes on at the end of October, this year it did not come on at all for many tenants. For some, the heat was cut on briefly at the end of October and early November, but then was cut off. Residents have called or stopped by the property management offices to express their concerns, but they were typically given just a single space heater. Residents also told us that they were told by maintenance, just turn on the ovens in your units. That will warm things up. It appears that the issue was not escalated and given proper attention until late last week. And even so, we find NRHA's response to be inadequate and insufficient, given the freezing temperatures and NRHA's legal duty to provide safe, habitable, and decent housing for all of its residents. Providing one space heater to a family is not enough. The law requires that homes are heated to 68 degrees in all rooms. That is an impossible feat with a single space heater. And a day or two ago, when NRHA started to hand out second space heaters upon request, that second space heater often resulted in the power being cut off because it overloaded the electrical system in those units. While NRHA, late in the game, offered hotel accommodations, that option was also not practical. Upon getting to the hotel, many tenants were told they had to pay a $100 incidental fee to check in. At least one woman and her small children walked back to Calvert Square in the dark, in the rain, after they were turned away from the hotel because they did not have $100 to pay. Another disabled resident was unable to leave her cold unit because she had no transportation and she had mobility issues. Several parents told us they could not go to the hotel because they had no way to get their children back to Calvert Square the next morning to catch the school bus and go to school. I raised all of these issues with NRHA, including but not limited to the transportation issue. I asked that NRHA provide transportation, among other things, for those tenants. I didn't receive a response. We're deeply disappointed by the length of time it took NRHA to address this issue and its failure to provide compassionate, thoughtful options for its residents. We also believe that this incident highlights a troubling trend of managerial neglect within the Calvert and Young communities. The residents who still call these communities their homes deserve better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Monet Johnson from New Virginia Majority. Topic to address: plans moving forward and clarity.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we are experiencing, from the residents that we've just mentioned are already freezing, some questions around what does the change in leadership mean for the redevelopment plan. I think that the change in leadership, the previous leadership made this plan out to be sort of like their baby, that they made a lot of the decisions that they thought this was the best idea moving forward. And so they are a bit confused when the decision is made that that's not the best leadership moving forward, as to whether or not this plan was one looked through with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it was actually to their benefit, and if it is moving forward as previously stated, considering the large-scale change. I want to encourage you all to, if we have not already looked through that plan to the letter of the law, or however they say it, that we do so, because I think there were already rising concerns with just how it was laid forward. And we keep saying we want to learn lessons from previous mistakes. And at some point, we do have to showcase what we've learned in regards to people and their homes. I hope that we're learning that folks have to be warm in their homes, but also that they should have homes to be warm in, because there are folks from previous projects who I don't know how they're faring in this cold, because they're definitely not in a new home. So thank you for your time. I hope that we get some clarity on what the plan looks like moving forward. If there is a pause, if there's a reconsideration, if there are adjustments, and we make that clear to the residents, because it is very difficult to want to speak up and say, hey, my home is freezing in October, if you don't know when someone is coming to put you out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Tiara Lassiter with New Virginia Majority. Topic to address is residential concerns.
Good morning, commissioners, and to all in the room. So given the change of executive leadership, I'm wondering if there are any changes to the up and coming St. Paul's redevelopment plans. What does the change in leadership mean for Calvert Square and Young Terrence residents? Can the NRHA provide the people with clarification and transparency regarding the plan? This would provide residents with a peace of mind and give appropriate time for preparation for the transition. In the words of the late Ella Baker, we must have the nerve to take the association to the people wherever they are. Give people light and they will find a way. So let's cut on the light of truth. The transition from Tidewater Gardens was not smooth, nor was it easy. Many of the residents ended up homeless, and I know because I'm a former Tidewater resident. And we don't want to see that happen to any more communities coming soon with these plans. So if you would take a closer look at your current plan and make sure that every resident will be taken care of with 1-for-1 replacement for housing, leaving none of us street homeless this time. So, I would like to address the shortage of heat situation within the Calvert Square community. In freezing cold temperatures, the lack of heat is inhumane. None of the housing units in Calvert contain insulation. People were freezing, and some have life-threatening health conditions. Witnessing the disparity firsthand was heartbreaking and shameful. In order for poor and oppressed people to become a part of a society that is meaningful, the leaders who run the system must listen to the changes being expressed by the oppressed. Then we must face the system that often dismisses our needs and devise plans to change the system collectively. Meanwhile, we must work hand in hand to help change the system and its operations. So in short, the system is broken and in need of radical change, and let's make those changes together. So often residents are left out of the conversation, but we shouldn't continue on with that system. We should be included in every decision that directly impacts us so that we can feel as if our voice counts and we matter. I can do anything but move forward. Pat Anderson. So special shout out and thank you to all of those people who did indeed try to help Calvert Square residents Norman, Brooks, Ms. Rose, Flemings. I appreciate y'all for being at every call that I made. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Lassiter.
The next in-person speaker is Mr. Raytron White. Topic to address is Grandy Village.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's Christmas time. So excited about that. Raytron White, Grandy Village. I am the TMC president. I am the iconic Raytron White. I have two questions. I hope that the commissioners come next year to give us another minute and a half. We have some important stuff to tell you all. We have the different departments, they get all the time they have, but the residents who we serve should have some more time up here to tell you all the concerns. I have two concerns, but I'm gonna talk on one this time and I'm gonna let this other one go. But I wanted the commissioners to ask me when they had the break, the Boys and Girls Club in Grandy Village, asked me that question. The first question is, this is the question I have for you all. Commissioners, there is a residence in my neighborhood that I do love, all of them, all 365 units. Some of you all on this board have businesses that you own, that you run. And we have a lady in our neighborhood. She has a business for 25 years that HUD actually helped her get her business off the ground 28 years ago. And every year she has to sign a paper that's saying her business can run her business out of her home. It's childcare. We have about 13 to 14 people throughout the day that she take care of the kids, and they go to work, drop them off in the neighborhood, go to work and work hard and come back and get their kids. She's been here, she's talked to some of your commissioners, she's talked to the former CEO, and she talked to some of the people that work for NRHA. On the 13th of this month, 29 years will go down the drain because nobody did nothing about it. The board, they asked her to step back, they're gonna take care of this. Some people say they're gonna take care of it and this and that. It's not fair. She has a business, a childcare business for 28 years, have everything you can imagine, even had to get a $3 million insurance policy she had to pay for. The 13th of this month, 29 years, she took care of kids across this Hampton Roads area. You all have not did nothing. It's appalling to me. To every employee or person she talked to, didn't give her an answer yet. It's embarrassing when someone that's doing her job, that HUD helped her get her business, and you all have said nothing. Just sign a paper. If she's in the wrong section, move her to the section she can. We got a lot of units out there that she can have. 28 years. How can we sit here and do nothing about it? She has a business. Kids have graduated, college, have children. They trust her child. Every creed, every child. They don't make no color. She had them there. They're safe. The people from Richmond came to her house, gave her a thumbs up. And the local people gave her a thumb down. She even went to city council. They have nothing. It's NRHA property to do. We have to do something. It's 28 years of residence. Pay her rent, top of the line rent. And we can't tell her an answer. The 13th, it's her last day, and she lose all of her business. We have to do something. It's Christmas time. Show someone some compassion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raytron.
Topic to address is heating in Calvert. Again, name is Whitney Spearman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Whitney Spearman, and I live at 961 East Virginia Beach Boulevard in Calvert Square. I'm here because my son and I lived with no heat from the day we moved in, since October 28th, and our suffering was kept completely hidden from the public. I originally lived at 919 East Virginia Beach Boulevard. The night the broilers were turned on, my radiator burst at 11:30 p.m., flooding my entire home with a mud-like substance, destroying my belongings. At 2 a.m., mud was seeping through my circuit breakers, and I had to evacuate with my son. The next morning, I was told the home I lived in for almost 4 years was unlivable and that I had 4 hours to move out. I was then placed at 961 and never had heat from the very first day. My son has asthma, and these freezing temperatures made his condition spiral. He has been to the doctor 3 times. He's coughed until he vomited, making him miss school. I was terrified to even tell his doctors we had no heat because I feared CPS would blame me, even though the situation was out of my control. Only after that, I told his doctors, and they confirmed the cold environment likely caused or worsened his illness. NRHA provided no heaters, no notice, no communication. When I finally learned heaters existed, I was given the size of a phone book. When I asked for a second one, I was told, "Don't you already have one?" Another maintenance worker told me, "Just use your oven." My heat only came on after a community advocate, Tiara, and legal aid and a councilman stepped in. I am appalled that the news and social media are only just now hearing of this now. NRHA kept our suffering a secret while families, children, elderly residents, people in with health conditions sat in freezing homes. Meanwhile, the same people we pay rent to went home every night to their warm homes. This is not my story. This is a community-wide failure. I am asking for real oversight, real accountability, and immediate protection so no families ever have to endure this again. No child should struggle to breathe or miss school because their home has no heat. And no parent should be afraid to ask for help, no matter how poor you are. To NRHA, please demand a full investigation into Calvert Square's handling of this crisis. Require transparent reporting, strict heating standards, and emergency procedures so families are never left in the cold again. NRHA should be taking accountability, compensating affected families, and fixing the systemic communication failures. They should be ensuring every unit is safe, heated, and livable before placing families inside. And I thank the media who kept it covered. Our story shouldn't die because NRHA is finally doing something. Families suffered without heat for weeks. Since October 28th, I had no heat. And this is only because I'm poor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spearman.
There's one last in-person speaker, Ms. Jasmine Byers. Topic to address is change in leadership.
Good. While the previous executive director is no longer in position, the effects of the leadership and termination of leadership place a cloud of confusion and uncertainty around communities. Neighborhoods like Calvert Square and Young's Terrace are already experiencing trauma, having experienced displacement, unstable conditions, and constant uncertainty around their long-term housing under the term renovation and promised growth. These issues did not begin with the leadership change, but this transition can be triggering. Families are already in crisis, and now questions are being raised around motives and transparency in leadership. Residents cannot afford delays, mixed messages, or sudden shifts in direction. They need stability, clarity, and leadership that stays present and follows through. Redevelopment decisions have real consequences. They shape where people live, how secure they feel, and whether they can return to the communities they have called home for generations. The damage has been done, but this is the moment of true transformation with leadership strong enough to rebuild, grounded enough to meet the urgency of this moment. The redevelopment of leadership we're looking for someone, and we're hoping that NRHA can find someone who can display what true leadership is really about. And the people are depending on leadership they can trust, who listens and follows through and stands with the residents rather than leaving them behind and now in confusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Byers. Any other speakers?
No additional in-person speakers and no comments in the chat.
Thank you. Do appreciate all the comments from all of the public speakers who came, and be assured that we'll be addressing your concerns in a methodical way. Hopefully, we can remedy some of the maladies that you've been experiencing in a timely manner, and we'll be hearing more about that as we go through our session today. But thank you. We're in the new business on our agenda. Sykes final bond approval.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As you may know, my name is Deborah Stevens. I'm the Chief Housing and Real Estate Officer. We are here to get a final bond approval of $17 million. For the Sykes Mid-Rise redevelopment. Just a project overview. It's 84 units. Gone through a rental assistance demonstration, a RAD conversion to project base. It's a full renovation of residence apartments. The reservation will be done or completed by phase. It is also being financed with tax-exempt bond financing. Some of the renovations include interior and exterior, complete renovations, upgrading all units to a universal design, improvement in energy efficient appliances, approved social area and laundry rooms, restrooms, and game room. Interior improvements include full renovation of living spaces, kitchen, bathrooms, and flooring, upgraded kitchens to new Energy Star appliances, cabinets and countertops to create a new concept kitchen and living area. Exterior improvements include roofing with a 20-year warranty, repaired and refinished patio and decks, new energy efficient windows, doors throughout the building. New HVAC systems and Energy Star to Energy Star criteria, plumbing fixtures, upgraded electrical systems, and LED lighting packages. The common area improvements include the laundry room, computer room, recreational area, the lobby corridors, and lighting improvements. Exterior includes window, roofing, and parking lot. What is rental assistance? There's a lot of information on this slide, and I'm just going to convert it kind of brief. So public housing is operated through operating funds, capital funds, and tenant-based payments. At conversion, it will be project-based rental assistance and tenant-based payments. So that's how the project will be operated once it's converted. Rights under RAD, they'll still pay 30% of the household income, public housing, flat rents for RAD, and they have the option after 12 months to receive a tenant voucher. Initial income is 80% or less. Existing PH residents, regardless of income, are eligible. Right to return after rehab, they both have it. Tenant screening, no rescreening after conversion for RAD. Choice mobility, like I said, after 12 months, the resident has a choice to pick tenant vouchers. Resident council and tenant service funds, grievance procedures and eviction protections, lease renewal are all provided under public housing and RAD. So summary of sources. There's a seller note, capital funds, contribution, tax credits, 4% tax credits, a deferred developer fee, and other incomes. And then there's a permanent loan as well. The use of funds is mostly towards the acquisition and construction of the building, financing reserves, and other soft costs. The tax exempt bond issuance, NRHA issues the tax exempt bond. It serves as a government note. Town Bank is the purchaser of those notes. Bellwether Enterprise is the Freddie Mac lender that will contribute to the permanent loan. Tax credit equity and operational income source will also serve as debt payment. So next steps, we have our final board approval today. We have the HUD-RAD financing plan approval tomorrow. We have the soft cost. This is a bifurcated closing. So we have a soft cost of funding and transferring of documents on Monday, this coming Monday, December 15th. The final close where the equity infusion will come into the deal is in mid-January. First phase of relocation will start early part of 2026. Amended notice to proceed will be executed early part of 2026. Renovations, phase one complete. Renovations will begin early 2026. The phase one will be completed by the fall of 26. Move backs will start to happen in 2026. Permanent loan conversion is expected in late of 2027.
Thank you, Deborah. Any questions, commissioners?
No, but I want to say this was has been reviewed on a number of different occasions in the finance committee, and we had an assessment about it, and at least the finance committee gives our approval to this.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Any other comment, commissioners? Will? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. Ms. Carnes.
Yes, sir. May we have a motion, please, with regard to the approval of the Sykes resolution for the final bond issuance?
Probably moved in second.
Mr. Groover?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo?
Aye.
Ms. Chudzinski?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, is the resolution authorizing significant amendment to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. Who's presenting? Well, of course.
Morning.
Well, thank you. How are you?
Thank you.
And the HUD spending bill for 2026, funding for the Emergency Housing Voucher Program will end in 2026. The Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority, we have 47 participants in that program. So HUD PIH Notice 2025-19 titled Guidance on Transitioning Emergency Housing Voucher Families into the HCV Program and End of Emergency Housing Voucher Services Fee Expenditure states. The notice provides guidance on how to transition those participants from the Emergency Housing Voucher Program to the Tenant-Based Voucher Program. So the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority, we are seeking permission to have a significant amendment to our administrative plan to create a new HCV waiting list preference for families currently participating in the Emergency Housing Voucher Program who are at risk of being terminated because the program will end and will not continue to be funded. We will also open our waiting list only for families that qualify for the Emergency Housing Voucher preference. NRHA will also revise the order in which we will select applicants from the HCV waiting list to include the preference for the emergency housing voucher participants. Then NRHA will remove the policy from our administrative plan on eligible uses for emergency housing voucher service fees, the funding consistent with HUD instructions to stop expending services fees by August 20th, 2025. These changes will occur if approved today, and staff recommends approval of this resolution.
Yes, sir, Mr. Miller.
Say preference for current emergency housing voucher tenants. Do you mean they go straight to the front of the line for housing choice vouchers?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I guess my question is along the same lines. I mean, it's emergency for a reason. And well, they're going to go on a waiting list. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence, because if you say you want to prevent a loss or a gap in housing, what do we have in place to ensure that that doesn't happen? I don't want people out on the street.
And it will not happen. And that is the reason for this resolution, because you can't put a person on the program without them applying and without them having a preference. So with this preference being approved, it will not happen. We will immediately add those individuals and open this wait list for them only.
But I guess,
And
I hear the term wait list, which implies that there's a wait. And if they don't have housing and they're waiting, then what are we doing?
So in order to be housed in the voucher program, you have to go on a waiting list. It doesn't mean that you're going to wait, because right now they're adequately housed. And this funding actually lasts through September 2026. So they will be placed on the waiting list. You have to go on a waiting list to be housed, but then they will be immediately drawn off and assisted. The plan is to put them on the waiting list, draw them off, approve them for the program, and they already qualify. And then per HUD guidance, we will have to do an interim to change them from being a emergency housing voucher holder and put them in our tenant-based voucher program. So there will not be any loss of assistance or for them at all.
Yeah, like I said, just let's please be careful, because I don't want another meeting and somebody coming in here and saying, I'm out on the street, because.
It will not happen.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions of Ms. Jones-Watford? Comment, criticism, suggestion?
Thank you, Pam.
We will
May we
entertain a
have-
motion.
Yes. May we have a motion, please, for the approval of the resolution authorizing a significant amendment to the HCV plan?
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Mr. Groover.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Ms. Mayo. Ms. Chudzinski. Dr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
We are into board updates. Any comment, updates that we need to hear, committees or otherwise? Here, are a couple of items. First of all, I'd like to let the commissioners take a look at a list of proposed recommendations with regard to committee assignments. We have 4 committees: a finance committee, development committee, public housing and safety committee, and economic inclusion committee. And I've taken the liberty to sign folks, you pass those. If you have a burning desire to fellow commissioners to be on a specific committee, let me know. I'm not married to this list. I'm just trying to put people in spots so that we can align some responsibilities. We certainly do want the committees to meet, and we look for those committees to report back to the board from the information they receive in dealing with the corresponding personnel here in the agency. But if you have a burning desire to be on one that you're not on, just let me know. We can work that out. That's not a problem. I did continue to assign myself to the Development Committee until such time as our 9th member is appointed, which I understand is supposed to take place this month, but we probably won't see that person until next month at the earliest. But if you, as you take a look at this list, and think about what your skills and attributes are that you might want to lend to the agency, and you're not on that committee, just let me know, and we can make the adjustment as appropriate. Any question on that?
Yeah.
Amy?
I would just say, I have no problem being on public housing and safety, but we have to change because they were meeting on like Tuesdays at 2 p.m. I couldn't think of a worse time for me. So I'm fine with that, but we have got to change the time and day that we meet.
I think we can accommodate that.
Okay, great.
Sufficiently.
All right, very good.
Mr. Chairman, if I can comment, thank you very much for taking the the initiative to define this for us. The bylaws don't structure anything in particular, but I think the precedent dating back a couple of years has established the meaningful interaction. I'll remind the members of the board here that board engagement is ultimately measured by our involvement in these committees. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure serving with you on the Finance Committee, and I welcome Mr. Groover and his experience and expertise in the audit realm in being able to take on the mantle of responsibility for participation in this. I think that each of the committees can set up their time and the cadence of their engagement. We're going to continue to meet on a monthly basis in the lead up to the Board of Commissioners meeting, with the idea that if there are issues that come before the committee that can be distilled down as far as recommendations to the broader board at these meetings, that would be very helpful.
Edie has noted your request, Amy, and I'm sure we can schedule that and work that out appropriately. And I think, Dr. Smith, you're better off having Mr. Groover's expertise financially than my presence on that committee. So hopefully that'll work out well. I had one other thing, and I think that we had come to a consensus on this at our last gathering with regard to initiating a search for a permanent executive director by use of a search firm. Do we have any differences on that position at this time? Hearing none, then we will ask the ED, in conjunction with whatever personnel need to assist him, to commence to speak with our council to begin this search ASAP. Okay? You're smiling, Michael. Yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, so that we'll put together a request for proposal through the procurement process to identify a search firm to assist.
Exactly.
All right.
Any question on that? Comment, criticism, suggestion? We want to move forward with this as expeditiously as possible so that we can get to a point within a reasonable amount of time that we can solidify the head of the agency and the role of the executive director. So we're going to be pushing forward very aggressively as best we can to get that done. And if any of us are called to participate, which I'm sure we will certainly try to give it as much support as possible. And otherwise, we look for the ED and council to begin that process and get it moving as quickly as we can. We all comfortable with that? That's great. I'm done. If there are no other items, we'll move into the executive director comments. Mr. Clark?
Good morning.
Morning.
The chair mentioned that I was smiling, and the reason for that is this time last week, I was still on the couch. Retirement is good. Before I get into any comments and following on the retirement is good, I want to acknowledge Pamela Jones Watford, who just made her final presentation to to the board, and she is retiring next Friday after 38 plus years. She wasn't here as long as I was, but she was close. But ladies and gentlemen, please give a hand. Pam. Yeah. Like I said, she not quite as long as me, but pretty darn close. So I had a list of things I was gonna say this morning, but after hearing a number of the public comments, throw that out. Let me just say a few things. One, to the chairman and vice chairman, the Board of Commissioners, I'm humbled that you asked me to come back and serve as your interim ED. And please, everybody, interim, because I am going back to retirement. This is while the board is engaging in their search for their new permanent ED. I'm back. Hearing the comments this morning, a couple of things hit me. One, you can take the job as interim and kind of like, we're going to just sign what we need to sign to keep lights going for a while. Okay. There's maybe some validity in that. But hearing the urgency of what is going on and, no, we're not doing that. Yeah, we're gonna search for a new ED, but we're also gonna try and correct. I mean, hey, you'll be hearing shortly an update on Calvert Young and Tidewater, but there is an urgency in continuing with the redevelopment effort. Granted, we don't want to make mistakes as we did the same mistakes we've done before, but we also need to acknowledge that this is important work that doesn't need to stop while we're trying to find a new ED. All right, regardless of whom's here, the board is setting the tone for what we need to do. Is that a fair statement? And the board, even though I just got back here and I am still trying to figure out all the computer stuff, or I do, that doesn't stop the fact that we have work to do, and we're going to do it. I'm going to give a directive right now. Please, staff, let's kind of get together and whatever we can do to make sure that, hey, the pipes are there's probably going to be other issues, but how we can better communicate, better mitigate, let's talk about that. I know some of you are still kind of making sure we're trying to get folk taken care of, and that's what we should be doing. But let's try to do better, find ways to improve what we need to improve for next time. Secondly, on a different subject, I know there are a lot of people in this room who may have mixed emotions about the action that the board has taken that have brought me back here. And quite frankly, it's unexpected, I'm sure, on everyone's part. And there's probably half the room going, yeah, Mike's back. Then there's the other half that's going, Mike's back. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. But it ain't about Mike. It's about those people back there, the residents. All right. So regardless of how you feel about me, because I'm going to be gone soon. I'm getting in my Mustang and gone. All right. But that we serve are going to still be here. Let's get this right. Yes. I can't. All right. With that, I'll yield my time back because I know we've got closed session. We got a number of things today. Again, to the board, thanks for the opportunity. And to the chairman, y'all move this along fast because, I had a wife and mom to take care of.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Michael, we thank you for taking that opportunity. That's something that wasn't guaranteed. And that you step forward in the difficult circumstances to kind of stabilize things here. I don't think we could be any more pleased to have you on board. And we look forward to your leadership through this interim period. So thank you so much. We'll move forward then with departmental updates, beginning with an overview on Young and Calvert.
This is going to be a 2-for. Also, it's going to include Tidewater Gardens as the second one. It's a joint presentation that you're going to see in there. One of the things I actually want to start with a little bit off slide. Do we have the slides up? Is everything? As they work on that, one of the first things I want to say is through the course of our transformation activities, whether it be at Tidewater or Young Calvert, that the timelines on these are quite long. Ms. Mayo may remember this, but the actual planning in Tidewater Gardens started in 2005. Started with a city planning effort, and that continued. And that was actually under, I believe, our executive director at the time was Cheryl Montgomery. And through the course of the Tidewater program, we went through different leadership changes at the executive director level, as well as through our board level with the board chairs. And so the changes in our leadership across major transformation efforts certainly happen. But all of those transformation efforts are usually grounded in overreaching actions by the board. They're in our annual plan. We talk about the issues that the communities face. You're hearing some today about Calvert. Those are the same issues back in the day when we were talking about Tidewater Gardens. Obsolete housing, basically the infrastructure systems were built in the 1950s, and we've been dealing with those through maintenance issues and other problems over the years that led to an overall decision by the board, by the council, and through NRHA of the need to make dramatic changes. That's where the transformation plans or transformation efforts kick off from. They kick off from our annual plan work and sort of community-wide decision that we've got to do something different. So I start there as they still get the presentation up. But I want to start with Tidewater Gardens. Again, I noted that the initial planning started in 2005. We actually had a CNI planning grant. So we were one of the early communities to go after a Choice Neighborhoods planning grant in 2009, 2010. That was an effort that the authority, in concert with the city, decided is we've got to start bringing in a greater effort in order to make a dramatic. We received the plan grant in 2010 and began our plan activity. Some of you heard this spiel before about that. Over that time frame, it certainly encountered major upsets into the federal world as well as the economic world that derailed certain things here in the city, Norfolk, as well as nationally, that interrupted some of our ability to move forward. We did complete our plan in 2014. Things were put on a little bit of a pause. But in 2016, 2017, the desire again was to move forward. The city had a huge effort on resilience and the resilience work there. And again, the authority and the city began to partner on how we could move forward with the Tidewater Gardens project. In 2017, the mayor kicked off a series of meetings with the community conversations regarding the effort. And in 2018, it was a decision late 2017, early 2018 to say, we've got to go for the Choice Neighborhoods implementation grant. At that point, the city and the authority activated fully, and we got a transformation, or took the work that we had already done moved forward with some additional design work, brought forth, selected a master developer between the city and the authority, and kicked off the process and submitted for a Choice Neighborhoods implementation grant in September of 2018. We were successful and then kicked off the project in 2019 after the HUD approval. Thank you very much. They're pulling it up now. All of that is to say, again, the planning work takes quite a long time. Next slide. The right one up. So now we're going to talk about Young and Calvert. So as I noted, is the first thing that we wanted that I was just going through is these have been long decision points on the activation of the projects and the planning of the projects. In this timeline, just saying is that as we began from 2014 to 2019, the decision was that we're going to look at the broader area into St. Paul's area. Back in the 24 to 2019 area, we focused on Tidewater Gardens. That was the community that we wanted to start with first. And so all our planning activities revolved around Tidewater Gardens. We did not go into the detail for Young and Calvert. As we move forward with the development work, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later with Kindred, but as that project has moved forward, we're now at a point where it's to continue the planning work and the transformation work now with Young and Calvert. A lot of the same issues that necessitated the work at Tidewater, the obsolete systems, the communities are barrack-style public housing that were built in the 1950s. Their infrastructure is of that date. You've heard from the folks at Calvert today, those related to the heat trench structures underneath the ground that provide the heating for that community. These are older systems that require a lot of maintenance and upkeep. And so part of, as we look at these things, in order to provide safe, affordable, modern housing, we have to look at transformation. And as we move forward with Kindred, and you will hear a little more about that, again, new housing, modern housing with modern conveniences. So in 2024, and actually 23-24, we came to the board to put into the annual plan saying, and talk to the board about the need to move forward with the master planning work for Young and Calvert. And so we said in 2025, this year, that we would kick off our master planning work with Young and Calvert. And that's what we have begun to do. Next slide. So one of the core things that goes back to the 2018 effort was the Board of Commissioners as well as City Council. We wanted to impart some key guiding principles that overall governed our efforts with respect to the planning efforts. And what the focus on all of these is that at the bottom of all of our work, or the core of all of our work, it's not an economic development project. It's a project it revolves around the community, the residents in the community. And so as we've moved forward with the plan, the families in the communities are at the core of that. Next slide, please. So earlier this year, when we kicked off the planning effort, some of the first things that we did is we assembled the master planning team as we went out to the communities. We've been having, beginning in January, we started having monthly community meetings, and really in prep, both in Young and in Calvert, in order to begin to prepare the families for the charrette process in July. And so we didn't want to just come out to the communities in July and say, hey, we're going to do a master planning effort. We wanted to walk through the different stages and elements that we wanted them to think about, whether it was housing, whether it was amenities, park space, commercial, their needs, and sort of have the residents begin to think about the community and how and what they would like to see. So our design team, led by Torty Gallus, walked the residents through that process. We would have a sort of breakout where we went to different corners of rooms where we could individually talk with residents and sort of and start to answer their questions, pose questions, and get feedback then. It was sort of a dual nature where we were informing residents and preparing residents, but at the same time, we were getting initial feedback from residents so we know where we were going to go with our master planning work. Schedule-wise, so we did that earlier in the year, and then July, we had a 4-day master planning design workshop at the Murray Center with the community and the residents, and that laid out our basic conceptual master plan. And since then, we've been keeping the residents update, going out to the resident meetings again, pretty much monthly, getting more feedback, giving them updates. But then we've also started a process with the city where there's a lot of refinement. So once you have a conceptual master plan, there are many other elements, particularly when we get around to the stormwater, some of the densities, some of the road structures and all of that, where we're starting the refinement process so that we get the best master plan possible. And that's where we're at right now. Next slide. So from the vision plan that we developed in July, sort of here are the core elements. So up on the screen, you have Young Terrace and Calvert shown. In Calvert, you'll see a lot of the area where we had to give over for stormwater. And there's a core reason for that is that the work that we did in there is that area is low. Its proximity to Tidewater Drive meant that you couldn't just raise that site next to Tidewater Drive because it would push the water into Tidewater Drive. With all the resiliency, using some of the similar strategies that we saw down in Tidewater Gardens, the idea was don't try to fight it. It's going to flood. As Calvert floods today, it's going to flood. Don't fight it. Just work around it and provide the area for the water to go. So we took that strategy. Another thing that we heard throughout the entire process was that there was where in the Tidewater Gardens work, it's all rental. The work that that's been going on so far, the entire community is a rental community. Here, there was a desire both from the residents as well as the city, as well as NRHA, that what we needed to come back in is what we did more in the Broad Creek project, where we're looking for home ownership. So we started looking at areas how we would do home ownership in the two communities. And so you're seeing some lower densities in some of the areas in Calvert Square in particular, and also some areas in Young Terrace. But then we're also looking at some core items, Church Street. And we'll talk a little bit later about a first project, but we heard clearly from the community a desire to have Church Street and the importance that it used to be. And so it used to be a core commercial area. And so a lot of our work where we're talking about mixed use, mixed income buildings, we start focusing on the Church Street area as a core, which leads back down into the Tidewater project. So we wanted to mesh all of that up so that we're hitting the different points, sort of the historic nature of Church Street, as well as getting to the new residential spaces that we need. We looked for some areas in Young Terrace where we could do some density. Overall, again, we're using the same concept from Tidewater that these are mixed income buildings. Typically from the city, what we look at is a third assisted, a third affordable, and a third market. So we've held that thought process through. We have not come up with a full accounting of how many units and what that mix is going to look like just yet. That's still some of the work we're doing. But that is an overall concept that we're moving forward with the project. As I noted, right now in the master plan, so we took the conceptual work that we did in July, and now we are going back with the city and looking at the home ownership blocks, first build sites, open space, street layouts, density issues. And so we're going through the entire plan and sort of truthing it to mesh better with the city projects. The city, certainly at this time, their infrastructure need or their infrastructure help for the project will be key. And so there's a long lead planning on that work also. And so as we work together today, we're talking about things that may or may not come to fruition for 5 to 6 years before they can get appropriate funded. But this is the time and process where you start that funding program. So we're working with the city now on moving that forward. Next slide, please. So we're here at the board today to give an update. And then council has asked that we come to them for a full presentation also. We're coordinating with the city administration. We're hoping to get to some type of retreat in January, but that still has not been scheduled. So it may be January, maybe February. But we will be going through a full process with the plan and the effort with council. They certainly, just as you all will probably have, there's a lot of concerns, a lot of discussion and questions around the program. And so that will be an opportunity to, again, really mesh with the city and pull it apart and put it back together over the next few months. One of the things we had been working on our first submittal for a tax credit application, and we're going to see that project in a little bit. We are putting a pause on that right now until after we talk to the city. And so that may delay things a little bit with the moving forward with that first build project. But again, alignment, I think, is core at this point with the city on a lot of these items. Next slide, please. So through all of this process, going to the start of the year, we've always said is, as we do our planning, we're going to continue with and expand our service to our residents. And so led by client services, we sort of had the mantra of serving while planning. So I know the good folks from United Way are here. They're part of an effort where we're outreaching with community engagement, increasing the number of services, and really have core principles and looking at health, income and employment and education, and working with families. Again, and this is not just Young and Calvert. I think that's something to call forth. It's actually all, the Young, Calvert, Diggs, and Oakleaf. It's a little bit broader, with the idea being is that our families across the NRHA portfolio, they need to be better rent ready. They need to have these services in place so that they have pathways and opportunities to uplift. Question?
So, well, going back to that slide, all of this is wonderful. It's important. It's great. I support it. However, can we please make sure that our priority is people have to have heat in their homes, okay? And obviously we've got some issues. So can we make sure that our focus is on that first? And then what we have left over can go to this. That's my concern, because again, this is all important. I love it, but I want to make sure that everybody is housed. Everybody has heat. Everybody, nobody has maintenance issues. I think that has to be our focus, because that's our primary concern. And let's make sure that that happens first.
Absolutely heard. Next slide. Again, just highlighting the United Way is partner or is our contractor and partner in this. As I noted, Calvert Square, Young Terrace, Diggstown, and Oakleaf. Again, in some of the services that they're working with residents. Through a lot of this, again, just have residents having someone to go to when there are difficulties in the household. Or services or other things they need. It's great to have these services in place for our residents. Next slide. Again, just a slide just to show that there's ongoing work aside from the charrettes that we had continuously monthly meetings. This isn't specific to the Young and Calvert master plan work, but the Yardy Rent Cafe meetings, needs assessments, and service grants for residents. But also one of the core things that we're doing is we're doing a survey of the Young and Calvert residents to further influence and get information for the master planning work. And that assessment is still in process and ongoing. Next slide. One of the core things that we talked when we kicked off this project is we needed a first project offsite. So not in Young Terrace, but close and near to Young Terrace. So we do have a site. It's the former Stanley Furnishings site, as well as Goldberg Hardware. It's at the corner of Olney Road and Church Street, right next to Young Terrace. Over the summer, we worked a city and NRHA team did outreach to find a master developer. So the teams went, interviewed master developer groups, and we selected Gilbane for this project. Again, this is just showing the site of the location. Next slide, please. Next. So we are working on a first build project. This is our initial work showing that we're looking at 95 units at the corner of Olney and Church. Combination, it'll be a mixed income, mixed use building, 5-story building, first floor with amenity space as well as commercial space. Looking at parking of about 88 units, a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Again, this is early work that we're still in the process of initial design work. Next slide. As I noted, we've selected Gilbane, and this is our development team. Aside from Gilbane, their architects are WRT, and then also VICA Engineering. Again, all closely working together in order to bring about a very good project. Next slide, please. Just to get plan, an initial site plan work that we have for the site. You'll see its location on Church Olney, as well as its how it references the MLK Park that's on Bramilton and Church. Next slide. One of the core things, again, we heard this at the charrette, as well as some coordination with area businesses. A desire to really pick up what Church Street once was, sort of the historic nature. It was a very important part of the city of Norfolk for quite a while. And so we want to pick up certain design clues as we bring back additional commercial along that corridor. And so the WRT team, they have been mining through the historic photos and seeing how they can draw some of those elements out into our design work. Next slide. So with computers today, you can do amazing stuff with renderings. Again, these may change, more than a few times, but this is sort of the overall look and feel that we're trying to get. So what you're seeing here is, this is the 5-story building showing where the first floor is the commercial and the amenity space with 4 floors of residential above. Using certain elements from storefronts to call back to the historic Church Street. Also using different material or color changes in order sort of to break up the building so that it doesn't look like this, crazy mass on the street. But again, looking to really set that corner, we're certainly using the influences that are coming off from the Kindred project coming up Church Street, but really trying to have just a very attractive and well-constructed building on that corner to sort of set for the future redevelopment of the site. Next slide. Just another rendering images. One of the core things is trying to activate Church Street, and so we're more foot traffic, as well as bring in some elements on resilience on a green roof, even some little rooftop area, public space. But really, in this case, as you're seeing, the one side is the corner of Olney and Church, and then on the other side, you're looking at Lincoln Street, which would be the back of the building. And a lot of times, with the backs of buildings, that's kind of, not an important space, so that it's really de-emphasized. Here, we're still trying to pick up and make sure that because of how it will be with the rest of the project next to Young Terrace, eventually that the other side of the street will be redeveloped as part of that too. You want to have that attraction, sort of that activation around the entire site.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions, commissioners?
Haven't hired a builder or anything for any of that.
No, that will be through Gilbane as the master developer. That will be an outreach there too. A big part of what we do is certainly with the Tidewater project is we have certain goals that we're going to want to achieve with our MWBE as well as Section 3. But that's something that will be coordinated with Gilbane. They do have a construction part of their company also, as they break up in different areas. And so there's some discussion of whether they would be the contractor or they would hire a third-party contractor.
And are we taking into consideration parking spots and adequate parking so that?
That is the, jokingly, it's $1 million question. On the site now, we're showing about 58 spots and another 30 on street, which would be 88 total, which is actually under the number. We certainly will be in full discussion with the city as well as the team. We've talked about the need to really get to at least a 1-for-1 on the parking spots, so get up to the full 95, and whether that's on site or on street and close by, but that is going to be months of work. We're doing a parking study. We certainly have heard from our residents in Origin and Reunion about some of the issues that they face. And so that is a big item for us to work through.
Steve, during your presentation, you've referenced communication and interface with the city on multiple occasions. Let me ask you, who specifically are you talking about? What office, what agency? And at this point, has there been any effort to standardize the work of how that communication is occurring, how it's been calendarized as this planning process rolls out?
We have regular meetings between the design teams, and DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development, are part of those meetings. We've also been meeting with planning. We've been meeting with roads. We've been meeting with stormwater. We've been meeting with the city's architects, WPA. We brought everybody together in sessions as we do the refinements, but we have enmeshed Department of Housing and Community Development. Also, economic development has been part of it too. But we are enmeshing and have them as part of our regular meetings when we talk with our moving forward, whether it's the master plan or the first build project.
Drill down on this. So how often do those meetings happen?
Right now, we've been about every 2 weeks on those meetings, and then as called as for certain specific items. We've been on a little bit of a pause through Thanksgiving and now coming up to Christmas, and also the desire to really not advance things much further until after we've talked to council, hopefully in January.
Do these meet same group of people in the room, and where do the meetings happen?
Most of the meetings have been virtual, though we have had in-person meetings also.
But again, are they the same people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sets the agenda.
That is directed through our office, my office.
Steve, I know a lot of emphasis is being placed now on Young and Calvert, and necessarily so. I appreciate that. And we see work ongoing in Tidewater. What kind of timelines are we looking at as we transition from the high density occupancy buildings to the lower density occupancy buildings at the other end of the site? I guess I'm asking this.
At Tidewater,
Yes.
Can we pull up the next, there's another presentation. It was actually, should have been at the front of this one, the Tidewater slides. Next one. Thank you. So this is where I meant to start. I wanted to walk us from one to the other. As I've already gone through the realm, so we are fully in year 6 in the implementation of the Tidewater Gardens Choice Neighborhoods implementation project. We're in year 6. Next slide. So we have the master plan up here. There are 4 basic phases. Reunion and Origin were the first phase, 192 units. Those have been completed and occupied. Unity was the second phase, 140 units. That has just completed in the last couple of months. And this is where I'm actually going to embarrass Pam or call out to Pam. Pamela Watford Jones Group has done an amazing job of on all cases of occupancy. And so Pam, Tim on the HQS inspectors, as well as Jamie and her group on regular working with the developer, the property manager, and urban strategies, the people services, in order to get these occupied. So we all work together in with the lease up on these properties. but Unity is in lease up right now. And I'll give a quick update on where we're at with that in just a second. The Phase 3 Kinship is under development right now. It's another 191 units. We're looking at units being completed in summer of next year. If you look out the window, you may be able to see they've gone vertical on one of the blocks out there. They are completing the site work on another block and actually starting foundation work on the third block. So that is well underway. Its full completion is expected late 27, perhaps late 26, early 27. The final phase is another 191 units. And that project, we've still been in financing. The board took action the other October for a bond package for the one of the components of the final phase. But it's all coming together, all moving forward. Also in terms of this that's the housing component. There's also the city's infrastructure. Through all the craziness of the inflation, it really put a huge test on the city's program in order to get the infrastructure done. They had to flow a lot of money in order to keep that work going, and they are moving forward. They're about 45% complete in the infrastructure now and are continuing that work. They are getting ready early next year to kick off the overall blue-green open space areas. That will also be the major stormwater program for the site. So they're hoping to kick that off early next year also. So the city is a big component on delivering on, so that, when folks move into these communities, they'll have the amenity space, they'll have the appropriate streets, water, sewer, electric, all of that. So a huge undertaking. Next slide. Sort of going through, one of the core things I want to point out is, yes. So right now there are 91 families that have moved back into the various communities. That's both on-site and the off-site CNI projects. And that's part of the overall program. Is there's 714 mixed income units on-site. And then there's another 70 project-based voucher units that are replacement units off-site in other developments. And we have residents in each one of those. And just for a quick aside, we do various mailings each year, out notifying just what's going on with the project, where we're at, upcoming items. But then another core thing is, as we get closer and closer to a lease-up situation, Tidewater families are given first preference. So we do a mailing out to the Tidewater families to identify the wait list is open. If you're interested in this property, please sign up on the wait list. We have Urban Strategies, who are under contract with the city to provide people services. They can work hand in hand with the Tidewater residents to help them through that process, whether signing up or getting documents necessary for the lease ups. We have a lot of hand holding to work with families. Again, note that the families right now, they're in a combination of they could be in our public housing communities or our project-based communities. Most of the families are on housing choice vouchers out in various communities. And again, we do regular mailings to keep them updated on the programs. Next slide. Just want to give you some brief images. You've seen these before in some of our presentations. This is not the same public housing, or these are replacement units, project-based voucher units. The same unit that's a market unit in these projects looks exactly the same as a replacement unit. There are no differences. The amenity space is open for the residents. This is different from public housing that we run today that was built in the 1950s. This is new modern housing. Next slide. Those units that I showed, those weren't renderings, those were photos. These are the renderings of Unity, as well as just a project shot from above. Again, we're showing where we're going with these units. Again, high quality buildings, amenity space. There's no difference between a replacement unit and a market unit. Next slide. The one that's underway, and Mr. Chair, you noted the differencing of the units. So the first units that we've come out of the ground because of our space, they were elevator buildings. Now we're getting to the mixture of elevator buildings, walk-ups, and townhouses. And so what's under construction now at phase 3, the 191 units, is a mixture of those 3 types. There will be elevator buildings, again, with some commercial space along Church Street, but then you also, as you get into some of the other blocks, you're going to see townhouses and walk-ups. Same thing with the final phasing. That one, there will be no elevator buildings. They'll either be walk-ups or townhouses.
And that'll be closer to the Tidewater Drive end of the.
Correct. As you move across eastward across the property, as we are now on the actually building upon Tidewater Gardens, you had the ability for more less dense units. Slide. One of the things that I want to offer up to the board is, again, the housing is one component. Choice neighborhood programs also includes neighborhood and people. The city has taken the lead on the neighborhood improvements. There's going to be some sort of select artwork and other wayfinding items that they're working on, and they're working on that design process now, as well as doing all the infrastructure work in the Blue Greenway, which is actually going to be quite an amazing amenity space for the community. But also you have Urban Strategies, who are contracted to provide people services. They just came out with their 6-year report. And what I would suggest to the board is that we have Urban Strategy as well as the city come to the board and give an update on the people services, which really needs its own sort of time frame. And they can go over the outreach and work that they do, as well as their efforts, as well as the numbers on everything. Next slide. That's it for Kindred. So we've already gone through this one.
Thanks, Steve.
Any questions?
Any questions for Steve, commissioners?
Any items, further items that you would like to look, either whether for Kindred or for Young in Calvert? We certainly are want to keep the board fully updated through the subcommittees as well as through the full board on the progression of the projects.
Can I ask you, what do you believe the level of understanding is on the part of the elected city officials and the representatives in what you just presented to us?
For Kindred, they're fully enmeshed. Something also for the board to consider is the St. Paul's Advisory Committee. The board should have 2 members on there. I think currently Mr. Fraley was at the last meeting, but we should have another member at the SPAC meeting, St. Paul's Advisory Committee. That's where a lot of the updates on the Kindred project come out. That committee is chaired by 2 council members. That's a way that we also provide updates on the Young and Calvert, and where we'll be going through more and more. We certainly feel that the council's a little, they're concerned about the progress on Young and Calvert from the standpoint of, it's a scary moment. We're in a scary moment when you kick off on a full transformation effort. So
their apprehensions are related to what the project looks like, the time horizon, or both?
Sort of the same what happened, I think, back in Tidewater at the very beginning of that in the 2016 to 2017 range. As we were moving forward, there was a strong concern in the community, and council members were like, let's have a conversation. And so, the mayor was instrumental in getting those conversations together. I think we hosted a series. It was the mayor hosted about 6 conversations throughout the communities and the area, and it was a way to say, it's like that we're all together moving forward with the program. I think the city is also, you have city council, then you also have city administration. They certainly look at this and from a straight factor of this is a budgetary item that is now, that they are worried that is being dropped on their laps. And no, right now we're in a planning effort. Certainly it will lead to ultimately a lot of infrastructure work, but that has to come through a planned process. So I think the way I would characterize it, we're at that point where everybody's getting butterflies about as we begin to step off the.
So is it fair to summarize, there are certain financial apprehensions, there are certain displacement issue apprehensions, there are certain infrastructure apprehensions.
Yes, and these were all the same issues as we kicked off for Tidewater. And I do want to make sure when Tidewater kicked off, if you go back, it was the desire was the transformation of the St. Paul's area. So the focus was on Tidewater. So you're taking elements, but the knowledge and sort of the intent was that once you move forward with Tidewater, the look was to get to Young and Calvert and do the same process, the appropriate planning, working with the residents and all of that. That was built into both from council as well as the NRHA board as that we move forward with this area. You can see that in our annual plan work, which dates back to 2018, where we began to put the St. Paul's area in the plan for what the long-term work that we would on that transformation we'd be doing. And that was in concert with the city.
Chairman, can I drill down on this a little further?
Sure, sir.
So the city has an interest now in MacArthur, and they're in the process of trying to figure out what they're going to do with it, which includes multi-use. Because of the geographic proximity, is there any discussion about how to kind of theorize how this can be done to take the transformation that's happening that we have oversight of, and the city has with MacArthur, and unify some approach that really has more of an expansive impact on the downtown area?
We have not been part of the discussions with MacArthur. And so at our discussion so far, that has not been brought in.
Steve, I was not aware that we're required to have 2 members on the SPAC board or the St. Paul's Advisory Committee. I was indeed uplifted when I attended, and I'm sure one of my fellow commissioners here will raise their hand before the year is out and say they'd like to be that person. But we'll get somebody there. But I do want the commission to know, as I attended that last SPAC meeting, USI has done remarkable work in working with the former residents of Tidewater Gardens. And I would hope that we could get them here so that they can tell their story. We hear too many horror stories about the things that are happening, and they are horrible, and we need to address them. But USI has done a marvelous job in seeing to it that of those 618 families that were in Tidewater Gardens, I think now that they have a wraparound service that has engulfed some 577 of that 618 households. So we do know that those that are dealing with USI do have adequate housing and are getting adequate services in order to be able to expand their living experience and improve their quality of life. So, and I think they bring a tremendous level of uplift for me to know that those families do have USI to support them as they transition from what they were comfortable with in Tidewater Gardens to a new environment, and hopes that they could settle in and are able to be as functional and prosperous as possible. So hopefully we can arrange to get them in here, Mr. Chairman, to give us, Mr. ED, to give us an overview of what their program is and how they operate. Any other questions of Steve? Appreciate it. Commissioners, I'm going to invoke a point of personal privilege and ask that we take about a 5-minute break. So moved.
Mr. White.
For a need for yours truly to take care of some business. And I see there were others as well, so that was good. We'll get back now. We were dealing with departmental updates. Next up, please. We got that? We're good. All right, so we're on board committee updates. Any committee reports?
Richard, do you want to comment on anything?
Finance Committee, we met this week. We received an update on the progress of the audit of NRHA. So things seem to be progressing with the new auditor. Received brief updates on the testing they've done. So the team here is working on responding to their questions. So happy with the progress on that. Things certainly seem to be moving in a positive direction. Really think that's.
I want to emphasize that the auditor has a specific testing within arm of our initiative as well.
Yes, they're testing as expected. Yes.
Richard, thank you for agreeing to serve on finance. We think your expertise is going to lend quite a bit to our deliberation and clarify a lot of the confusion when it comes to finance. So we thank you for that. Don't mean to put a lot of pressure on you, Richard, but nonetheless, we think you can handle it, whatever it is. Any other committee reports, board committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move into commissioner comments. Any comments, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say, I want to thank the people that came for the public comment section, and they're providing us with their insight and their experience. I'm going to just say, kind of in keeping with what Commissioner Jasinski says, that your testimonials are heartbreaking. And, you know, we acknowledge the seriousness of this, and the board has to work with the interim executive director and the other leadership to fix this. I can only imagine that looking at the images of what's been being proposed with, you know, the new developments adds to this heartbreak, because you're looking at what it is that we have the prospect of building and still wondering, why am I living in something where the heat isn't on? So we hear you, and we're going to address this.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. We certainly echo those comments. It was painful to listen to those comments earlier today. I spoke with the ED prior to our meeting. There's nothing more of a priority for us than restoring the service to those people. Fortunately, we are a victim of our own infrastructure, if you will. A lot of that infrastructure is 60, 70 years old now. But that's neither here nor there. Our role should be to overcome whatever obstacle is thrown before us. And we are moving diligently to try to get that done. And every effort would be expended to try to make the inconvenience that those residents are experiencing a past memory. So we'll be moving forward with that. We can't thank folks enough for their patience. Let me also highlight our staff who've done a tremendous effort of outreach and talking to those residents and trying to provide what level of comfort they could throughout this unfortunate set of circumstances. We recognize that people are being inconvenienced, and be assured that we are expending every effort that we can to make that situation go away and hopefully be of a sustainable enough correction that we won't have to encounter something along these lines in the future. Yes, ma'am.
And can we please ensure a better flow of communication? Because frankly, the fact that I'm hearing about this problem from October today is unacceptable.
I would concur with that. One of the big issues we've been hearing, Dr. Smith and I, as we go through our efforts to get us back to sound operation, if you will, as a board and as an agency, was a lack of communication. One of the first calls I got last Friday morning was about 7:30, 8 o'clock from a city council person. Fortunately, our staff had clued me in as to the what was transpiring in Calvin, and I could respond appropriately. And I thank the staff for keeping me updated throughout this process. But it seems to me, and the ED and I spoke about that earlier this morning, we need to have a process in place where when these types of things, where a significant number of our clients and residents are being impacted, we need to get the word out to the city leadership, so that when the residents are not satisfied with what we tell them, and they start calling them ward representatives, at least the ward representatives are apprised of what's taking place. So the ED has indicated to me he would be addressing that and make sure. Of course, we would hope that we never have to use that, but unfortunately, there are circumstances where we do, and this is one. But we need to have a mechanism in place whereby when a number of our residents are impacted negatively, that we get the word out to city leadership so that members of city leadership and elected officials are apprised and aware of what's taking place. And Edie has assured me we will do that. Again, we have to appreciate the fact that we are trying to upgrade from 1950s construction, and a lot of the circumstances that we experience in those situations with underground utilities in particular are that old, they just give out. We're talking about a pipe to carry water, probably a cast iron pipe, and over time they just deteriorate. And it's amazing that they've lasted as long as they have, but that's neither here nor there. Our role is to try to provide the service that our clients need in as timely and quickly a manner as possible, and we'll be working to do that. Any other commissioner comment at this time? Any more comment, commissioners? None? Hearing none? Then we're going to close out our regular session and go into closed session.
Resolution convening a closed meeting on December 11th, 2025. Be it resolved that the authority will convene in a closed meeting pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended to discuss the following matters which are specifically exempted from public disclosure by the code sections referred to below. Number one, personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, demotion, performance, salaries, or resignation of employees of the authority as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Act. Number two, discussion and consideration of the disposition of publicly held real property as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A3 of the Act. And number three, consultation with the authority's legal counsel regarding actual or probable litigation and legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Act. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Groover?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Ms. Mayo? Ms. Chudzinski? Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
We're in closed session.
Thank you.